Look, when you said you wanted a Roman holiday, I thought you meant a vacation to Italy. Hello and welcome to another episode of Game Theory, the #1 DraftKings prep show in all of the land. I am your host, Monk, aka the Monkmatician, and it brings me great joy to be talking MMA DFS once again, the start of the new year, 2022, and we are opening up with a banger of a main card this week. It is going to be, as you can see behind me, Calvin Kattar going against Giga Chikadze, UFC Vegas 46. I am stoked for that one. One more thing before we get into it. Over the break, I am now working under the banner of Rise or Fall. I could never be a weatherman. I can't point to it. It's right above here. I'm looking right at it. Excuse me, TeamRiseOrFall.com. Go check out the website, you guys. If you are into DFS of any kind, especially, MMA, but of any sport whatsoever, you need to go check this site out. We have got tons of experts at your disposal, ready to give you advice, ready with core plays, ready with projections, ready with everything you need to take down those DFS contests. So it brings me, again, great joy to be welcomed by them, and I'll be discussing all kinds of MMA stuff over at the site. My core plays will be on there, GPP, cash plays, projections. You get into fantasy cruncher stuff, all kinds of stuff, guys. I'm super excited for that. So thank you, DFS and Donuts and the whole team over there for the warm welcome. And business aside, without further ado, let's jump right into it, you guys. First fight of the night, and coming off of a 4-week break. What else sorry, I just drank a ton of water. What else do you really need? Oops, let's not launch that again. What else do you really need besides Vanessa Demopoulos and Silvana Gomez Juarez? Strawweight fight to start us off, an absolute banger. Demopoulos, flyweight fight. No, this is strawweight. Demopoulos fought at flyweight before. This is down at 115. She has the shortest reach in all of the UFC, according to the UFC, 59 inches, going against Juarez, 5'3", 65-inch reach, orthodox fight. Juarez, 37 years old, so Demopoulos coming in a few years younger than that. Both are 0-1 in the UFC. Demopoulos, 60% of her pro fights have ended, have gone the distance, I should say. Wow, I can't talk. It's been a bit of a break for me. We're going to skip that stuff and get right into the DraftKings stuff. 8,200 for Demopoulos, 8,000 for Juarez. What do you get for Demopoulos at 8,200? Well, last time her salary was 7,100, so she is very much more expensive. Very much more? Wow, good start, bud. Much more expensive than she was in her first fight by 1,100. Let's see, she scored 2.32 DraftKings points per minute. Gave up 3.7 per minute for an extreme negative differential of 1.39. Average value of 4.9. That's it. She, let's see, gave up 85.5 points in her loss. She's coming in here with an okay ceiling, 94. Actually, that is very low for this card, 94 ceiling. Her floor, let me get my cursor over here. Her floor, 34.79, but I have no standard deviation for that. She's only had one fight, so that was just what she scored in her loss. Gomez Juarez on the other side only scored 0.28 DraftKings points per minute, so it's going to throw off my projections at the end, but that's okay. We'll talk about that. She gave up 8.75 per minute. Did she fight Godinez? I forget who she fought off the top of my head. We'll find out, but she got subbed pretty quickly. Gave up 127 points. She is $400 more expensive than her salary last time, which does not look good since she barely scored any points. I'm not going to get into it right now. I'll have an instructional kind of video explaining all of this coming out very, very soon. But what you really need to know is, over the break, I took a look at all of the optimal data from 2021, compiled it, and got a ton of data out of that. Mashed it all together, and this is what you're going to want. DraftKings rating right here. This is the number and the rank for how I expect, or if I expect this fighter to make the optimal lineup. The lower the score, the better. 898 is the 9th highest on the card. So, I don't really expect her to make the optimal lineup, but there is a chance. Juarez down at 1196. Anyways, I will get into that kind of stuff later on in a different video coming up soon. DraftKings scoring by method and data. We got nothing much here. Demopoulos, like I said, gave up 85.5 in her fight, which was a decision loss. Gomez Juarez gave up 127 when she got subbed. Don't really need to look at that. Where's my header here? Looks like I forgot to put in a header. These are some basic stats. Oh no, these are new stats. Ha! Ha! Striking, DraftKings points per minute for Demopoulos. These are DraftKings points scored per minute by, I guess, method? I don't know, whatever you want. A category: striking, knockdown, takedown, control time, and reversal. So it kind of gives you an idea of where we are as far as DraftKings scored. Don't really need to look at this except for Juarez giving up 90 bonus points in her one loss. And here's what I thought we were looking at. Relevant fight statistics. Won't really go into that too much. You can take a look at that if you want. Very small sample size, like I said, one fight a piece for each of these women. Strength of schedule. I do these based on the last 5 professional fights, UFC or otherwise. It's one of the only stats I go outside of the UFC for. And Demopoulos actually doesn't have a terrible strength of schedule. I mean, for a one-fight UFC fighter who had a loss, this is pretty good. At 70, you want it to be about 70, 75. That's ideal. 70 for strength of schedule, opponent win percentage. 58 strength of victory is pretty low, but 76 strength of defeat is fantastic. And then you compare it to Silvana Gomez Juarez, 58, 60, 48, 70. So pretty big difference there. Let's see, fight history and stats. I feel like something's out of order here. I really should have looked at it, but whatever. Yeah, Juarez lost to Godinez in the first round, 4 minutes in, and then Demopoulos, lost to JJ Aldrich. We won't talk about that one, especially if Z is taking a look at this video. I was on that side with you, brother, if you recall. DraftKings points per minute in graph form. Only one fight, so we don't have to look at that. And then decision, win, projection. Something's going on with my projections here, so I'll have to take a look at that. But whatever you think is going to happen, here is the score that I think will go along with it. Very low for Juarez, very high for Demopoulos, and that is almost all based on Juarez. The amount of DraftKings points per minute she gave up against Godinez was almost 9, and the amount she scored was less than 0.3. So we have a very jaded view of our projections for this specific fight. I would lower Demopoulos, and I will when I post later in the week. That is a huge number, and I do not think it is accurate. So, that said, blah, blah, blah. Let's move on, as my things are blowing all around here. Second fight of the night. Brian Boom Kelleher taking on Said Yakub Kakhramonov. This is going to be a good fight. I'm not being facetious like I was in the previous fight. This one is going to be fantastic. This is one of 4 fights that I think is going to end inside the distance. Bantamweight fight. Brian Kelleher, 5'6", 66-inch reach. Kakhramonov, I apparently did not put his reach in, but he is 5'8", and almost 9 years younger than Brian Kelleher. I did not realize that until I looked at it just now. 9 years younger, you guys. Oh my god. Kelleher 7-5 in the UFC. Most of his fights have ended by way of submission. 16 out of his 35 fights have ended by way of submission. He's got a decent ass whoop index of 1.42, decent power index of 0.52, and an okay chin index, top half of the card. Kelleher, $7,500. He is $250 below his average salary. So if you're on the Kelleher side, you're getting extreme value, especially since he's got the 3rd highest average value on the card at 8.78. This is not a good card for DraftKings points, or value points, all kinds of stuff like that. So 8.78 is going to be very good in this case. So if you're on the Kelleher side, you're getting tremendous value. Scores 3.29 raw DraftKings points per minute, 4th on the card, 3.32 given up. So that bodes well if you're on the Said side. The top DraftKings points per win at 104.92 on the entire card. Yeah, all these ranks are basically out of fighters on the card. So there you go. 104.92 first on the card. That is a huge number. He also gives up the 7th highest points when he loses, 95.95. 3rd highest ceiling, pretty low floor. So yeah, I'm liking Kelleher here for GPP plays. I mean, we don't know much about Said. He has one fight in the UFC. We'll just get right into it. He's 8,700, coming in $1,300 more than he went for in his first fight. Just under three DraftKings points per minute. Gives up 2.5 points per minute for a positive differential there. Scored 88 points in his win, almost 89. That is a pretty low number, but definitely, you know, not like 60. Has a pretty high floor, but again, only one fight, so we cannot even think about that really. And actually, that it would just be the average floor for the division since he does not have a loss. I think. DraftKings rating for Kelleher to make the optimal. Pretty low, 1282, 19th highest. Saeed on the other side, 5th highest, 813. So in the bantamweight weight class made probability last year 52.5%. The second fight made it 55, almost 56% of the time. And then Saeed's salary at 8,700, the 7th best salary on the entire card. I think he's got good odds to win. So that is kind of how that breaks down. DraftKings scoring by method and win-loss data. Look at this. Kelleher scoring over 100 in knockouts, 100 in subs, and over 100 in decisions. 108.3. Kelleher is the most prolific scorer, I think, on this entire card when it comes to DraftKings. Whether he wins or loses, he is putting up points. So unless Saeed knocks him out in the first round, I mean, I like both guys here a lot for DraftKings. He gives up, look at this for Kelleher, giving up a ton of points when he gets knocked out, when he gets subbed, and even over 90 when he loses by decision. I mean, so if you're on the Saeed side, there you go. Brian Kelleher, 100% of his wins, 7 wins, all over 90 DraftKings points. 57, so that's what, 5 of 7 wins? No, 4 of 7. Yeah, 4 of 7 wins, over 100, and 3 of 7 over 110. He is a fantastic DraftKings scorer, like I said. I mean, he scores over 2 points a minute, striking. Very good, 6th best takedown number, 0.43 points a minute. Best control time, 0.46 control time points per minute. And even has some reversal points in there as well. I mean, he's scoring everywhere. Average bonus points, 67. Fantastic. And he gives up a ton when he loses. So I'm really liking this fight as a fight to target. Here are a few stats. I'm not really going to go spend much time on those. You can just pause it at any, obviously, I don't have to tell you, you can pause it at your goddamn TV. You have the remote in your hand. You can pause it if you want. Strength of schedule. Kelleher 3-2 in his last 5. Saeed 4-1. And Kelleher's strength of schedule, one of the best on the entire card. 78 opponent win percentage, 76 strength of schedule, 71 victory, 84 strength of defeat, meaning the guys that he has lost to have very good records, and the guys they've fought also have good records. Saeed 67. I mean, we're under 70 in almost every single category. Saeed, though, look at the striking differential in his one fight compared to Kelleher. Big negative number here, takedowns and significant strikes. This is just the last 5. Okay, this is not their whole career. So a little bit of recency here. Ass whoop index. Saeed whooped some ass over Trevin Jones in his first fight, coming in at a plus 133. Came out with a win there. And then Kelleher, 3-2 over his last 5 with losses to Ricky Simon. I think that's what we call him. And Cody Stamann. So he's beating the guys he should beat, and he's losing to the guys, you know, that he probably should lose to, kind of. I mean, maybe not Cody Stamann, but Ricky Simon has proven, had a great 2021. He made optimal lineup 3 times in all 3 of his fights. Raw DraftKings points per minute. Big dip here for Kelleher, but he did rebound against Pilarte pretty well. He is trending up while his opponents trend down, so you love to see that. Saeed, only the one fight. And again, I apologize. These NAs are just... It's because we have Michel Pereira, and he doesn't have an opponent, and it's thrown everything off in this column. So that's meaningless. Just look at the projections here. Those are the good numbers. So, like, again, whatever you think is going to happen, this is how I think that will score. And then the DraftKings visual recap and aggregate career finish percentages. So lots of real estate for Kakhramonov, but he's only had the one fight. So I actually like Kelleher's real estate much more. He doesn't do much with the grappling points, distance striking points. I mean, not much, but I guess they're kind of tied is why it doesn't look Too bad. But I love the sprawl here of Kelleher, especially the DraftKings points per win, bonus points per win. You'd want the win percentage, finish win percentage up a little more, but hey, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. And then the aggregate professional career finishing percentages and UFC. So you've got lots of finish wins and finish losses for these guys in the UFC and in their professional career. Like I said, this is one of 4 fights I do think will go the distance, or will finish inside the distance, rather. Dakota Bush, I will try to speed this up a little bit. We're at 15 minutes. Try to keep it to under an hour. Going against, we're going to call him Slava Claus because everyone else does. I don't have any information for Slava Claus, no of UFC fights. Dakota Bush, only 1 fight, so I will keep this quick. And I don't have a birthday for Borshchev either. That's unfortunate. Bush, 7,200. $100 cheaper than his salary from last time. He did not score well. 2.12 DraftKings points per minute. Gave up 4.38. That is a ton. His opponent scored 95.66 points on him. DraftKings rating here, pretty good for Borshchev and decent for Bush. Not too much data to go through on this one. No wins. Bush did give up over 90 points in his loss. It was a decision. Relevant fight statistics. This is, 1 fight. You guys, sorry, I don't have a ton on this one. This is the DraftKings show, and these guys barely have any DraftKings stats. So we can look at the actual stats, but there's other people that can go over that. I have lots of stats, but if you want like fight tape breakdowns, there's way better people out there that do it compared to me. So I don't have a ton for this fight. Dakota Bush, he landed 2.73 strikes a minute, takedown per 15. These are very low numbers. He got outstruck. Where's the differential? By 1.73 strikes a minute. He got grappled big time. Almost 5-1 actually. Controlled only 18% of the grappling time. Spent 55% of it inside the distance. His strength of schedule is not good. Austin Hubbard gave him a decent strength of defeat somehow, but under 70, under 60 in his strength of victory. So not good. -10 ass whoop index. So I don't know much about Bush. I don't know much about Dakota Bush, but and Slava Claus either, really. This is a DraftKings show. I got nothing to show for that. My projections, however, I do like. So definitely take a look at those. Borshchev, these are going to be, average for the division, when he goes up against Dakota Bush and what Dakota Bush gives up. So that's why these are probably a little lower than expected here. Visual recap, I got nothing for that because Dakota Bush has no wins. And then finishing percentages. Neither guy has ever been finished. And 77% of their pro fights have been finish wins. So a big finish rate for both of these guys. Slava Claus has 4 wins by knockout. He's only got a 5-1 record. Dakota Bush is 8-3 professionally. 2 wins by KO, 4 wins by sub. So, Borshchev, 9,000 for a guy that's never, had a UFC fight. That's kind of expensive, but apparently they think Dakota Bush, is going to give him a good welcome present and just kind of lay down for him and get beat up, I guess. I'll have a little bit of both guys, probably more Slava Claus than I will Bush, but I'm not going to have a ton of either one. Let's get into, the next fight. TJ Brown going against Gabriel Benitez. This is going to be a featherweight fight. TJ Brown 1-2 in the UFC. He's got 4 wins by knockout, been knocked out 3 times. He's got 9 sub wins, 3 sub losses. So this guy wins by finish and loses by finish as well. He's got a decent ass whoop index, 2.26 on the card. Does not have a knockdown, and he has been knocked down. He did make the optimal lineup on his 1 fight. In 2021, he is $1,000 cheaper than his average salary at $8,100, so he is $7,100. He's got the highest DraftKings points per minute on the card at 3.75. Gives up only 2.73 per minute for a huge differential, 1.02. He's got a decent value, 7.2, so that's top half on the card. He only scores 79 in his wins. He gives up only 75 when he loses, though. Pretty low ceiling at 79 and a okay floor at 22. So, I mean, TJ Brown's got good numbers, and if you get into the numbers part of it, he's getting a lot of those from takedowns, ground time, etc. So we will look down there in just a few minutes. Gabriel Benitez coming in 1,100 over his average salary. I mean, way expensive for a guy that only has a 7.24 value. I mean, that's 0.04 of a point better than TJ Brown, and you're paying 2,000 more. I mean, he only scores 2.5 DraftKings points a minute. You know, gave up 3.62 per minute, only scores 88 when he wins, gives up 107 when he loses, has a very high ceiling of 117. I mean, this guy is a UFC vet. We didn't cover that. 60 or 65. He is 6-5 in the UFC. So, I mean, 8 wins by KO, 10 wins by submission. Both of these guys are finishers. Some okay probabilities to make the optimal lineup for Benitez. I have TJ Brown, or the calculations have TJ Brown way down at 20 at a 14.39. I don't know. I kind of like him. I think he should be up a little bit more than that. I mean, unless Benitez absolutely starches him super quick and he stuffs every takedown, or if TJ Brown just comes out and tries to strike with Benitez, like I just don't see. I mean, I like Brown, the upside for Brown a lot here. Yeah, gave up only 77 points when he got subbed, 73 when he had a decision loss. Gabriel Benitez scores the highest points on the card when he wins by knockout, 124.76. Only 76 when he won by sub, 65 in decision. Gave up 122 when he got knocked out, and 84 in decisions. TJ Brown never scored over 90 in a win, never given up over 90 in a loss. Benitez, let's see, 3 of his 6 fights, he scored over 90, and 2 of his 6 fights, he has scored over 110. Gives up a ton of points. 4 out of 5 losses, he's given up over 110 points. That is huge. Gets a ton of striking points, but gives up a ton of striking points as well. Look at this. Opponent takedown points per minute, over 1. TJ Brown, takedown points per minute, 1.16. That's the highest on the entire card. So that's kind of what I was talking about or alluding to earlier. He also scores more striking points per minute than Benitez does. I like the upside of TJ Brown here. I'm liking it. Only averages 30 when he wins in his one win. Gives up 50 when he loses. Benitez, very high bonus points here on average. 63, gives up 57 when he loses. Here are some relevant fight stats. I mean, look at this. TJ Brown, 3rd highest percent of grappling time controlled on the card at 54%. Spends 56% of his time fighting at distance. But if you do get Benitez down, he only controls 13.5% of the total grappling time. Strength of schedule is Benitez, and it is not close. He's over 70 in almost 80 or every category. 80 strength of defeat. We are under 70 in every category for TJ Brown. Last 5 fight history and stats. Here's how this breaks down. Not looking great for Benitez in his last 5. A huge negative differential, striking and takedown and control time. Almost 20% control time differential negative. I mean, gets outscored by a point a minute. And TJ Brown's outscoring his opponents a point per minute. Won over Kai Kamaka as an underdog and losses to Griffin and Chavez. Benitez lost to Corentillo, Morales, and Yusuf in his last 5. So here are some DraftKings graphs here. TJ Brown trending up, while his opponents also trend up but below him. And then Benitez trending way down, pretty much below his opponents here. But he's still, actually, yeah, his opponents are smoking him here by over a point. And here are my fight projections. Take a look at that. Huge real estate for Benitez here. My goodness, especially since TJ Brown, well, that's mostly because he does not have any finish wins. And then the aggregate win-loss or finish percentages here, pretty high as far as wins and losses go. So that's kind of how that one breaks down. I like TJ Brown's upside here a lot. I don't like the fact that you'd have to pay 9,100 for Benitez. Unless you think Benitez is going to come out and starch Brown, then that's worth it. But otherwise, I just don't see it. Next fight, Ramiz Brahimaj going against Court McGee. Brahimaj 1-1 in the UFC. Court McGee 9-9. Brahimaj, every win that he has professionally has come by way of submission victory. Incredible. Never been knocked down, doesn't have any knockdowns. Let's see, Court McGee, most of his fights in his pro career, 19 out of 30, have gone the distance. Has a few wins, 5 each by KO and submission, and he's never been subbed in 30 fights. I'm sure you've heard some people say that already. It's true. I can tell you, it's damn true. 30 fights, never been subbed, so Ramiz is out to prove a point. Let's see, he did make the optimal lineup in his one fight in 2021. $7,900 is his current salary. That is $200 cheaper than his average salary. He does have a positive DraftKings points per minute differential, but only scores 2.28 per minute. When he won in his one win, 104.76, 77 points he gave up when he lost, so not very much at all. McGee, second highest DraftKings points per minute rate on the entire card, 3.33, only gives up 2.26. That is a 1.07 differential. That is fantastic. He is exactly what his average salary is, $8,300. He has got a great average value of 7.73, sixth highest on the card. Only scores 91 when he wins, but like I said, this is a very low DraftKings point scoring card, I guess you could say. The fighters on this card do not score very well. I mean, even Giga scores like 79 points a win. So let's see. Opponents only score 76 against McGee when he loses. So very good numbers here. He has a good ceiling, 109, and a good floor as well, 26.4. Some decent DraftKings ratings here based on weight class, fight order, and salary for Ramiz. And not too bad for Court McGee either. Let's see, we've already seen these numbers from Ramiz. When Court McGee wins by submission, he scores 100 points. When he wins by decision, second highest number on the card, 90.78. So very good. When he gets knocked out, gives up 115.6. Never been subbed. Never, never, never. Let's see. We've already seen those from Ramiz. Court McGee, when he wins, in his 9 wins, 4 of them have been over 90, 2 of them over 100, and 2 of them over 110. He's only given up 110 once, and he's only given up 90 points twice. So pretty good defensive numbers there from Court McGee, who averages 2.29 striking points a minute. I mean, lots of takedown points, 0.56, lots of control time points as well. So looking pretty good there. DraftKings points per type and win. Look at this. When Ramiz, well, he's only got 1 win, and that was against Sasha Politnikov. First round finish, so a huge number there. Gave up 45 when he loses. Very low numbers for McGee. Likes to go to decision, this Court McGee. I tell you that. Relevant fight statistics. I mean, Brahimaj, what do you expect? Huge grappling time control. I mean, takedowns landed per 15. But look at this. Court McGee, no slouch on the ground himself. 80% of grappling time controlled by Court McGee. Strength of schedule is definitely going to go to McGee. Brahimaj needs a couple of better guys before these numbers start to go up. I mean, a 59 strength of victory is nothing to brag about. Court McGee in his last 5 looking pretty good. 3.13 ass whoop index, a power index, and a not so great chin index though, 0.63. You want that number to be 0. Is the fight history. Court McGee losing to Diego Lima, Sean Brady, and Carlos Condit. Bam, bam, bam. 3 in a row. But then redeemed himself against Claudio Silva last year. DraftKings points per minute, pretty dead even for Brahimaj, who is trending up, while his opponents trend up, but at a much lower rate. And then McGee is trending down, still way above his opponents, though, over an entire point per minute above his opponents. And here are my projections. Take a look at those. Look at all this real estate for Brahimaj with his finish win. And then McGee, a much bigger sample size, does not have that many finish wins. That's where he lacks in this chart, is finish wins. And that's what you need if you want to make optimals, at least in GPPs. McGee, I tend to, did I write that one down? Yeah, I actually do like McGee in cash a lot. I don't know that he wins this fight, but I'm pretty sure he's not going to get finished. I mean, if he gets finished, he's going to get subbed. And if he gets subbed, that's going to be the first time in 31 fights when he will have been subbed. So just based on percentages and probabilities, guys, you got to think that this is going to go decision or McGee's going to lose. McGee's going to lose a decision if Brahimaj wins. So I think he still scores well, especially for cash. Next fight, this is going to be a super fast one. Jamie Pickett going against Joseph Holmes. I don't have any salaries. DraftKings will not put out salary. I don't know what's going on. This fight is on Tapology. DraftKings does not have this listed at all. So, real quick, Joseph Holmes never fought in the UFC. This is going to be a middleweight fight. He's only fought 8 times professionally. Pickett, 10 more fights than that. 3 of them in the UFC. He is 1-2. Terrible ass whoop index, no power index, and an awful, awful, awful shindex. Only scores 1.92 points a minute, gets 4 points a minute scored on him. He's got a terrible ceiling, lowest on the card at 65.7, and an even worse floor. Also one of the lowest on the cards. Value is trash. Yeah, oh, this is why no, they don't even have ranking. Yeah, because there's no salary. So, weight class probability to make the optimal is the 3rd highest. Fight order, 4th highest. It's the 6th fight of the night, but, I mean, Jamie Pickett, terrible. 65 points when he wins, gives up tons of points when he loses. Here are the stats if you want to look at them. Like I said, I don't have salaries for this, so talking about it in DraftKings is kind of ridiculous. Gives up a ton of bonus points when he loses. That's 60 points on average in 2 fights. His stats aren't, like, terrible, I guess. I forget the stat. He throws something like 12 or 13, or he throws the most strikes a minute, or like second most out of the whole entire weight class. But he only lands like he has some differential of like 10 from punches thrown to punches actually landed. He's got a terrible accuracy. Let's see here. Yeah, I don't have much to, I'm sorry. I'm searching for something to say about this, but let's see. I guess his average salary was what? 73, 74. Average value is 4. Staropoli, he lost to Jordan Wright, and then Nchukwi, terrible ass whoop index, and beat Staropoli just barely. Unanimous decision, terrible fight. Trending up as far as DraftKings points goes. And then decision, win projection. All of Pickett's projections are the lowest I have on the card, I think. Yeah. And I don't even have a salary for him. So check my Twitter, check teamriserfall.com later this week when I post my cores and whatnot. If we get salaries for this, I will post something about them. But I mean, I'm not expecting Jamie Pickett really to make the optimal lineup here. He had 2 chances in 2021 and he failed at both of them. Anyways, Bill Algeo going against Joe Anderson Brito. Not much to say about this fight for Brito. He's never fought in the UFC. He is $8,600. This is a featherweight fight. Has the 2nd highest DraftKings rating on the card for me, just based on probability, fight order, weight class, and then his odds to win. Bill Algeo, $7,600. That is exactly his average salary. He is 1-2 in the UFC, switch stance fighter. Has a ton of decisions. Most of his fights have gone to decision. 3.3 DraftKings points per minute. Very high. 3rd highest on the card. Gives up 4.41, so gives up a ton as well. But you get a 7.85 value with that cheap salary, so that's not terrible. Averages 85 when he wins. I guess that is just 1 win. Gives up a ton of points when he loses. 107.8. Let's see here. He scores 46 when he does lose. So, and that is 2 fights. He's got a pretty low ceiling, but a very high floor. In fact, the highest floor on the card, which tells you good for cash, baby. Not a great DraftKings rating here, but that's more of a GPP number. Not so much a cash number. Bill Algeo, 85 points in his decision win, 107. So he's never been finished in the UFC, and he has no finishes either. Opponents have scored over 90 in both of his losses and over 110 once. Algeo with the 2nd highest DraftKings striking points per minute at 2.61. Very good. Not too many takedowns. Gets taken down a ton. 1.89 per minute given up by Algeo. Pretty consistent fighter, especially in his loss there, or losses. Not any bonus points that you can see for Algeo. Opponents score 54 grappling points on him per loss. That is crazy high. Here are some relevant fight stats. Second highest accuracy, third highest volume landed. Gets hit a lot though, 4 strikes a minute. But he does have a positive differential there of over a strike. Second highest differential on the entire card. Very good. Does not spend much of his time grappling. At least offensively. Spent 55% of his total fight time at distance. Controlled only 31% of the time he spent fighting inside the distance. Strength of schedule. Pretty good, actually. The strength of victory is not great, but the rest of the categories all over 73. And then Brito, 5-0. In his last 5, Algeo's 2-3, but Brito also a pretty decent strength of schedule. In fact, very decent. Over 70 in 3 categories, and then he has no defeats in his last 5. So very, very good. Algeo, bad ass whooping index, a negative number here. These are all green because Joe Anderson has nothing. But, I mean, other than the striking differential, these are terrible numbers. I mean, a -5 takedown per 15 differential. Negative 17% control time. I mean, he's getting outworked by 1.1 points. And let's see, Algeo's not fighting a guy named Ricardo, so yeah, he should win this fight. Let's see, Algeo outworking his opponents, like we said, by 1.1 points and trending up still, but a pretty low projection here all around. But again, the highest floor on the card. I like Bill Algeo for cash. Let's keep it moving. We got 4 fights left. 1, 2, 3, 4. Chase Sherman. Let me get a little back stretch here. Oh, let me show off the Starface shirt. Oh, a little bit. All right. Chase Sherman, Jake Collier. I'm going to need some water too. Man, it's been 4 weeks since I talked about fights. I'm a little parched. You know, a little tired. I just need a break. I'm just kidding. I don't need a break. What I need a break from is this long-ass break between fights. Chase Sherman against Jake Collier. Ooh, what a heavyweight banger. I mean, last time we talked, we had Justin Tafa and Harry Hunsucker. This one might be better than that, you guys. Chase Sherman, Jake Collier. Chase Sherman 3-7 in the UFC. Collier 4-5. My God. So what is that? These guys are 7-12 in the UFC. Super cool. Most of their fights ending by way of KO. Chase Sherman, negative ass whoop index, terrible power index, terrible chin index. I mean, these guys they have the same ass whoop index. Negative 2.43. That is crazy. I've never seen that. Collier with the better power and the better chin. Statistically, Sherman 7,700. Thank goodness. He is $500 cheaper than his average salary. His average value is terrible at 6. He scores not even 3 points a minute, gives up over 3 points a minute, scores less than 100 when he wins. Opponents don't score well against him, only 91 when he loses. He has the highest ceiling on the card at 119 and a very low floor. So this is kind of a GPP type play right here, 77. Even though, God, I couldn't imagine taking... I mean, I will have some Chase Sherman, don't get me wrong. I'll probably have a decent amount of this fight. Like I said, this is... or I didn't say, but this is another one of the 4 fights that I have slated to finish inside the distance. If it doesn't, okay, that's not great. But if it does, one of these guys should score a decent amount of points. Collier, over 3 points a minute, gives up over 3 points a minute, just a barely negative differential, barely negative. He does cost almost $1,000 more than his average salary. His average value is better than Sherman. Scores only 82 points when he wins, gives up almost 100 when he loses. Not a great ceiling and a terrible, terrible floor. DraftKings rating for these guys, probability to make the optimal, very high for both of them. So like I said, I think this finishes inside the distance, and I think the winner of this fight scores well. I mean, heavyweights, 56% of the time they made the optimal lineup last year. Fight order, what fight is this? Number 8, that made the optimal 43%, 53%, and 35% salary. I mean, these are top 2, 3, 4 numbers on the entire card. You mix that with Jake Collier's, fight odds over here, and you get good numbers from both of these guys. So, DraftKings scoring by method when Chase Sherman wins by knockout, very high. 112.07. When he loses, not even 100. So again, pretty good defense from this guy. Does not score well in decision wins. Collier scores almost, 7 points better? Almost 8. Let's see here. Jake Collier, 101 when he wins by knockout, gives up 106 when he loses. Sherman in his 3 wins, that's right, only 3. 2 of them he scored over 100, and 1 of them he scored over 110. He's only given up, let's see, in 1 fight, right? 1 out of 7? 2 out of 7 fights he's given up over 100. Jake Collier has given up over 90 once and over 110. Actually, he's given up over 90, 4 times, and over 110 once. My goodness, I'm looking at too many numbers now. They're all starting to run together. Chase Sherman, most DraftKings points scored by striking on the entire card per minute, 2.62, and he gets outstruck. 2.66 per minute. I mean, incredible. Collier scoring 2.39 striking points per minute. This is going to be just a striking battle here, it looks like. I use the term battle very, very loosely. Sherman, 56 bonus points per fight. That is pretty good, or per win, I should say. Collier giving up 67 when he loses. Here are some relevant fight stats. Take a look at those. I mean, Chase Sherman landing 6.24 strikes a minute, and he's getting outstruck. Absolutely incredible. Meanwhile, Collier, 1.08 striking differential. Very, very good. Strength of schedule for both of these guys is awful. Like, really, really, really bad. Less than 60 opponent win percentage. Less than 47% for Jake Collier. I mean, this is a joke. I mean, Collier's all over the place. He's got a 78 strength of defeat and a 46 opponent win percentage. What the hell's going on here? And there are how the last 5 break down. Chase Sherman 1 and 4. Jake Collier 2 and 3. And Chase Sherman is 1 and 4. Didn't he? When did he have his break? That might have been before this. I don't remember. It doesn't matter. I'm not going off on a tangent this far into the video. DraftKings points per minute. Pretty even keel here for Sherman. He is barely trending up. And same with Collier. They are dead even with their opponents for the most part. Decision or fight projections here. Pretty high projections for Sherman compared to Collier. But Sherman's got to win for that to happen. And then lastly, DraftKings visual recap and aggregate career finish percentages. Sherman with some good real estate, especially on the finish, win, and bonus points side of things. Very, very good. You want these 3 numbers as far out to the edges as you can possibly get them. And then, like I said, huge finish percentages in wins and losses for both of these guys. I do expect this fight to finish inside the distance. If it doesn't, it's going to be super boring and super sweaty. All right. 9th fight of the night. Brandon Royval taking on Rogerio Bontorin. Flyweight fight, Southpaw versus Orthodox. These guys, are both 29 years old. Royval 2-2 in the UFC. Bontorin 3-2. Royval is very fun to watch. Both these guys have terrible ass whoop index, but Royval, the #1 power index on the card, and a terrible chindex. Bontorin never knocked anyone down and has a very bad chindex as well. Royval, $8,800. He is, what's that, $1,300, almost $1,400 more than his average salary in 4 fights. But with that, you do get the 5th highest DraftKings points per minute on the card, 3.26. He gives up a ton of points, though, 4.78 a minute. My God. But in his wins, 101 points per win. That is 2nd on the card. Gives up a ton of points when he loses, 110. Well, 109, almost 110. Very high ceiling, very low floor. I mean, this guy has GPP written all over him, right? Average value 7.55. I don't like how expensive he is, but I mean, like I said, GPP written all over him. Bontorin, 2.23 points per minute, gives up a ton of points a minute, 3.65. I mean, he is almost $200 cheaper than his average salary, and he has an okay value, but Bontorin only scores 80 points in his wins. Gives up, however, 114. So that, if you're on the Royval side, that has got to make you feel good, paying $8,800 for a guy, you know, whose opponent gives up almost 114 points in a loss. Bontorin, very low ceiling, but also a pretty low floor as well. Almost identical DraftKings ratings here. This number should be higher if you're strictly going on GPP, I think, for Royval. The only problem is that salary. $8,800 salary only made the optimal lineup 15.79% of the time in 2021. And if you're a probability guy, that is very low. Brandon Royval, 101 points when he submits people. When he gets submitted, 99. When he gets KO'd, 120. Bontorin scores very well in knockouts, gives up a ton when he gets knocked out. Not so good in decisions. 71 points per decision. When he loses by decision, 119 points. My goodness. That's crazy. So a lot of numbers on Bontorin's side are definitely making that 8,800 for Royval seem valuable. Royval, let's see. 1 out of 2 fights, he scored over 110, and he scored over 90 in both of his wins. In his losses, he has given up 110 once. This doesn't make... Oh, yeah, it does. Never mind. Let's see. It does. Sorry, just having a moment. Overall striking or DraftKings points per minute based on category. I mean, nothing jumps out at me. I mean, except for his knockdown points. Brandon Royval, 0.77 knockdown points per minute. That is number 2 on the entire card. Keep it moving. Tons of bonus points scored and given up for Brandon Royval, and a decent amount for Bontorin as well. So I do like this one. This one I did pick to finish inside the distance, or the computer picks it to finish inside the distance. So whatever side you're on, if you're in GPP, I like both of these guys. Obviously Royval more. I mean, but if Bontorin wins, it's going to be probably by finish, and it could be violent. So you don't want to miss out on those possible points. I'm going to have more Royval than I do Bontorin, but I will have some of Bontorin just for that finish prop there. I mean, he's got 11 wins by submission. Royval is a submission guy, but he has lost by submission as well. In fact, both of these guys have lost by submission in their career. Royval has a terrible strength of schedule. I mean, it's bad. But you look at the names, the name game, Tim Elliott, Kai Kara-France, the champion, Brandon Moreno, and then Alexander Pantoja. But look at their actual records. They're not like Cyril Gane. Nobody on this list is undefeated. They've all had losses. So that's why the strength of schedule looks the way they do. Bontorin's strength of schedule is fantastic. Probably the best on the card. Opponent win percentage is almost 78. His actual strength of schedule is 76.5. Strength of victory, 81. I mean, this guy is beating people. Beating people with good records. That's what these strength of schedule numbers are based on, is our records in their last 5 fights. So speaking of last 5, here they are. You want to take a look at that. And then raw DraftKings points per minute. Trending up for both Royval and his opponents. And then trending up as well for just Bontorin's opponents. Bontorin is actually trending a little bit down. Both guys with lots of work to do. They're both getting outworked overall in their DraftKings points. Projections. Here we go. Royval with some pretty high projections. Like I said, this is a GPP play all the way. Definitely don't like him in cash, but GPP I'm okay with. At that 8,800, he could be a little bit more expensive also. So I think it's decent. It's a bit more bit more than we're used to paying for him, and I think he still has to prove himself, because if he gets caught, I mean, that's 8,800 you just kind of put down, so not ideal. Anyways, very good graph here from Royval in his 2 wins. I mean, very, very good. Strength of victory is all Bontorin there. And then huge numbers as far as finishes in wins and losses. All right. 2 fights left. We are almost there, guys. So close. Once again, check out teamriseorfall.com. Use code MONK. Save yourself some money, like it says right there. And then up there, it says something about Yeah, $20 credit to Fantasy Cruncher. Don't forget about that. Fantasy Cruncher is a great tool, especially if you're playing more than like 20, 30 lineups. I mean, it's nice to do handwritten lineups sometimes, but Fantasy Cruncher is a great tool. You can just plug in whatever you want, projections, and just let the computer do the work. So it is fantastic. Put a little randomness in there, blah, blah, blah. You're good to go. Katlyn Chookagian going against Jennifer Maia, women's flyweight fight. Chookagian 9-4 in the UFC. Maia 4-3. Most of their fights finishing by decision. Chookagian a negative, both these girls, negative ass whoop index, terrible power and terrible chin, or actually not very much power and decent chin dex for both of them. Perfect for Maia. Chookagian, $700 more than she usually costs, $8,900. Fought once in 2021, did not make the optimal. She only scores 2.41 points per minute, gives up 2.84 for a negative differential, has a terrible value of 6.61. DraftKings points per win, 70. That's not good. She gives up 90 when she loses, has a very low ceiling, one of the lowest on the card, and an extremely low floor as well. So what are we doing paying $8,900 for Katlyn Chookagian? Well, if you're just going on probabilities, I mean, not just, but if you take that into account, strawweight or women's flyweight made the optimal 57.5% last year, first overall. The 10th fight of the night made the optimal 66.67% of the time. And most fights on the card had 10 fights on them at least. So that's not a small number. First overall. Not a great salary, but yeah, based on those two things, I'm going to have some of Katlyn Chookagian. Not a ton, maybe like, less than 20%. But $8,900 is a lot, in my opinion, to be paying for Katlyn. Jennifer Maia, $7,300, so she is $400 cheaper than she usually is, has a decent value of 7.34, only scores 2 points a minute, 3.2 points given up per minute, only scores 72.8 in a win, gives up a ton when she loses. I mean, we're at 71 points a win between the two of these ladies. That is not good, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it. Low scores. Look at these. 11% of the time she scored over 90. That's it. 25% of Maia's wins have been over 90. Very, very small points here. I mean, 30 points of bonus per win. What did I just saw something on Twitter earlier. If Katlyn Chookagian wins a decision, she will be the first fighter in UFC history to have 10 wins with no finishes. So if you're playing cash or a GPP, keep both of these fighters out. And we're not even going to go. I mean, that's the stats. You can pause it, blah, blah, blah. Very good strength of schedule for Katlyn, especially when you compare it to Maia, whose strength of schedule is trash. But Katlyn in her last 5, actually pretty good. Over 1 strike per minute differential. Terrible takedown defense. Not great control time either. Not scoring very well. I mean, she scored 57 points in a win against Algeo. Get out of here. You get out of here right now. Maia beat Jessica I last fight, scored 57 points. You get out of here too. Both of you. Not great graphs. Both getting outworked and their opponents trending up. Projections, there you go. Like I said, I'm not interested really in much of either of these two women as far as a DraftKings DraftKings side of thing goes. Not too interested. I mean, look, Maia has 7% of her finishes have been in win or in her career. What am I looking at here? Why does that not make sense to me? Either way, this fight is not finishing inside the distance. No chance. Now it probably will. Last fight of the night, main event of the evening. Giga Chikadze going against Calvin Kattar. We got a 5-round fight here. Chikadze 7-0 in the UFC. Kattar 6-3. I mean, Chikadze, the best ass whoop index on the entire card, 9.72. A huge power index, 1.98. Perfect chin dex. Calvin Kattar, negative ass whoop index. Decent power, perfect chin as well. Chikadze, $1,300 more than his average salary. But what do you get with that? You get a 9.95 value, the highest value, average value on the card. Giga only scores 2.77 points per minute, but he only allows 1.53 points coming from his opponent. per minute. That is a differential of 1.24, the best numbers on the card. Giga, only 79.6 points in a win. That is interesting. No losses, has a okay ceiling. Pretty high floor, but we don't have any losses from him, so we really don't know. Calvin Kattar giving up 2.6, or he's 6,900. Calvin Kattar, let's see, what is that? $1,200, almost $1,300 cheaper than he usually is. 2.61 points a minute, gives up a ton. 3.4 points per minute. But guys, I'm sure you've seen it all this week. I posted about it a couple weeks ago, I think. What Max Holloway did to Calvin Kattar was ridiculous. But what he did to Calvin Kattar's statistics in his career was devastating. I mean, absolutely devastating. Calvin Kattar's numbers look really bad, and a lot of it is because of Max Holloway. Now, Kattar did have a negative striking differential before the Holloway fight, and a few other glaring things that jumped out to me on his resume, but now it's like a hurricane came through, and it was negative like 0.66 per minute. Now it's like negative 3 point something. I don't know. It's bad. So a lot of these numbers are inflated, but it's because Kattar fought Holloway. So yikes. Chikadze, I have a pretty good DraftKings rating here. Kattar, as you would expect, much lower. Chikadze, when he knocks people out, only 100 points. That's the 8th highest on the card, so that's not very high. Scores less than 70 when he wins by decision, less than 60 in a split decision. Calvin Kattar, over 102 when he knocks you out, 75 when he wins by decision, and gives up 120.5 when he wins by decision. This is the kind of thing I'm talking about. Before the Holloway fight, this was probably 90, maybe less. Holloway fucked that dude's stats up. They will never recover. They will never recover. Chikadze has put up over 90 in 3 of 7 wins, over 101 of 2 of 7, and over 110 never of 7. Kattar putting up over 100 in 3 fights, putting up over 110 in 1, and he's given up over 110 twice. So he does allow a lot of points. Even without that Holloway fight, he's got his ass whooped by somebody else, and I'm sure we will see whom. Calvin Kattar, 2.13 striking points per minute. Giga, only 1.65, but the highest knockdown points per minute on the card, 0.78. Guy's got power. You don't need me to tell you this. Kattar gives up 3.29 striking points per minute. See, another one fucked by Holloway. Absolutely fucked over by Holloway. Chikadze averages just under 50 bonus points per win. What the heck? Look at this, dude. Holloway put Calvin Kattar's stand-up striking points from opponents off the chart. I can't even read this number. I don't even know what it says. I think it says 87, but he put it off the chart, dude. Insane. Overall, this is a fantastic fight. Second and third best fighters on the card, I think, just based on loose stats. So these stats are very loose. They're more for me to reference while I'm just babbling about fights. Look at this Chikadze, though. Striking defense, fantastic. Best striking differential on the entire card. No takedowns. Takedown defense, 75%. Very good. No grappling time to speak of. Calvin Kattar lands a ton, but I mean 8.16. He was at 5.66 before this. So Max Holloway changed Calvin Kattar's strikes landed against per minute by 2.5 per minute in one fight. In 25 minutes, he changed it by 50%. What's the math there? Yeah, 50%. It's fucking crazy. Takedown defense, fantastic. This is going to be, if there are any takedowns in this fight, I'll be surprised. If there are, they will be coming from Kattar, I imagine. He has somewhat of a wrestling background, but this should be a stand-up battle. 25 minutes, 5 rounds. If nobody gets finished, the winner of this fight is going to score a gazillion DraftKings points. Strength of schedule, Calvin Kattar wins, and it's not too close. Giga Chikadze has a better strength of victory and no defeats, but the opponent win percentage and the strength of schedule does go to Kattar. In his last 5, Kattar's getting just beat down. Almost a 4 strikes per minute differential. Negative. That's insane. Giga, on the other hand, an 18 ass whoop index, 2.91 power index, wins over Barbosa, Swanson. I mean, come on. The Calvin Kattar has losses to Zabit and Max, but wins over Ige, Stevens, and Lamas. Trending up is Chikadze, as you would expect, way above his opponents. And Calvin Kattar just obviously got hollowayed there. Here are my projections. Very high for Giga. I personally think this goes to decision. I think Giga looks good doing it. Actually, I don't care who wins. One of these guys is probably going to make the optimal lineup. If it does go 5-round decision, I think for sure they will. We're going to have a lot of striking points here, and that's just going to add up. And if somebody starts mixing in takedowns, I mean, who knows? I don't expect that to be a big number, but honestly, I think this is going to be a striking affair. And I think Chikadze is going to make, or the winner, I'm sorry, is going to make the optimal. So we will get into more of that later this week. Here are the finishing percentages. And that is going to do it, guys. We did it. We covered all 11 fights. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have my cash cores coming out. We're going to have GPP cores coming out. All over on teamriseorfall.com. I will still continue posting on Twitter, statistics, stuff like that. But all my picks, cores, and then my fantasy cruncher projections, everything is going to be over at Team Rise or Fall, guys. It costs nothing to check out. You can come check it out, see at least what they're doing over there. There are tons of really smart guys, and I'm not just saying that. There are tons of smart people over there that have been consistently winning money at DFS for years now. And I like it because I'm learning a lot about other sports, especially in that 4-week break. I went out and branched out, won myself a couple of NBA takedowns, smaller ones, but a couple of them and some heads up stuff like that. So I mean, I'm really benefiting from this. Come over and check it out, see what they're offering, and come check my shit out. If you like MMA, I mean, it's going to be 100% worth it. I got a couple other guys over there that I think are going to start posting cores and whatnot, but I mean, what else do you need? You're going to have, now you have all the statistical information you need. As soon as you see my cores for your GPP and cash, you're going to have that. Guys, we're going to make a ton of money this week. Look out for Wednesday on, I think, Pub Sports Radio or DFS by the Numbers. I'm going to be the 4th on his show with Brady, DFS by the Numbers, Wheezy, and Luke from SWR Betting. We are going to be doing the DraftKings show on his channel, and I can't tell you how excited I am. So come check that out on Wednesday. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. It's been such a crazy break, so much stuff happening. So thank you so much for watching until the end of the video. I really do appreciate it. Follow me on Twitter. Come over and check me out on Team Rise or Fall. But most of all, guys, do your tape study and have a great weekend of fights. They are back. Can you believe it? We'll see you in the next one. Peace out.